Dynasty 1981 was the pinnacle of 80s excess, but in 2026, the Carrington Empire is a graveyard of memories. Behind the shoulder pads and champagne were stars battling cancer addiction and public downfalls that no script could match. Discover the tragic reality of the families who ruled TV only to be crushed by time. Subscribe to see who remains and who is gone forever. John Forsythe as Blake Carrington. Born January 29th, 1918. John was 63 years old when he donned the tuxedo of Blake Carrington in 1981. To the world, he was the definitive symbol of 1980s power and oil-rich dominance. But the real weight of John's journey was the silent burden of being a late-blooming icon. He had spent years as the disembodied voice of Charlie's Angels, hidden safely behind a microphone only to be thrust into the blinding tabloid-heavy glare of primetime fame at an age when most of his peers were retiring. He became a global sex symbol in his 60s, a role that forced him to balance his old-school Hollywood dignity against the increasingly sensationalist demands of the greed is good era. The profound tragedy of John's story was the quiet dissonance between the ruthless tycoon he played and the humble private man he truly was. While Blake Carrington fought for empires and family loyalty with iron-fisted cruelty, John was a man of the theater who often felt like a stranger in the high-glitz world of Denver Carrington. He navigated the pinnacle of his fame while watching his own health and his generation of Hollywood slowly vanish. His final chapter was defined by a stoic, year-long battle with colon cancer and pneumonia, a struggle he faced with the same guarded grace he gave to his character. He proved that the most difficult empire to govern is not one of oil and steel, but the fragile reality of one's own mortality. John Forsythe passed away on April 1st, 2010 at the age of 92. He is remembered not for the fictional billions he owned, but for the unwavering poise he brought to a medium that often rewards noise over substance. With an estimated net worth of $5 million at the time of his passing, his legacy stands as a masterclass in professional integrity. A man who spent half his career as a voice and the other half as a face, eventually becoming the soul of a vanished era. Linda Evans as Krystle Carrington. Born November 18, 1942. Linda was 38 years old when she became the ethereal heart of Denver Carrington in 1981. While the world saw the quintessential angel in white silk and diamonds, the real weight of Linda's journey was the suffocating pressure of maintaining a facade of flawlessness. She was cast as the moral compass in a world of vipers, a role that required her to be perpetually soft, silent, and suffering a mirror to the invisible struggles she faced as a woman, whose identity had been defined by the powerful men in her life long before she ever reached the Carrington mansion. The profound tragedy of Linda's story was the silent physical agony that haunted her reign as TV's Golden Girl. For years, she battled a debilitating case of chronic back pain, so severe that the simple act of standing for a scene became a feat of quiet heroism. The diamonds and designer gowns were a heavy armor masking a body that was failing her while she was forced to project the image of a vibrant, youthful goddess. This private torment was compounded by the scars of her past, most notably being replaced by a younger woman in her marriage to John Derek, which fueled a lifelong tragic search for a self-worth that wasn't tied to her iconic beauty. She lived in a high-fashion cage playing a woman who was constantly gaslit and betrayed, reflecting a deep-seated vulnerability that the cameras caught even when she didn't mean to show it. Today in April 2026, Linda Evans is 83 years old. She stands as a symbol of quiet resilience, having survived the physical and emotional tolls of a fame that demanded she be perfect at the cost of her own peace. With an estimated net worth of $30 million, her legacy is the courage she found in the silence, a woman who survived being the ideal to finally become herself. Michael Nader as Dex Dexter. Born February 19, 1945. Michael was 38 years old when he stormed into the Carrington world in 1983. To the audience, he was the only man capable of taming the fiery Alexis, a rugged blue-collar contrast to the champagne-soaked elite. But the real weight of Michael's journey was the exhausting effort of maintaining the alpha male archetype while hiding the cracks in his own foundation. He was the working-class hero of a high-fashion soap, a man whose magnetic screen presence masked a deep-seated restlessness and a relentless struggle to stay grounded in an industry that thrived on excess. In 2001, while enjoying a career resurgence on All My Children, he was arrested in a high-profile drug bust, a moment that became tabloid fuel and effectively shattered his professional life overnight. The industry, once enamored with his charm, turned its back, leaving him to navigate the wilderness years of recovery and quiet regret in the shadow of his former glory. His final chapter was a sudden, devastating race against time. He was diagnosed with untreatable cancer just 10 days before he passed away in August 2021. He lived out his last days with the same guarded dignity he gave Dex, choosing a quiet exit over a public spectacle. Michael Nader passed away on August 23, 2021, at the age of 76. In 2026, his legacy is remembered as the grit within the glamour. He proved that even the most bulletproof characters have a breaking point, and that true redemption is found in the quiet fight for one's own peace. With an estimated net worth of $1,500,000 at the time of his passing, he remains the definitive man's man of 1980s television, a soldier of fortune who survived the high-stakes world of primetime drama, only to find his greatest victory in the dignity of his final surrender. Gordon Thomson as Adam Carrington. Born March 2, 1945, Gordon was 37 years old when he joined the cast in 1982 as the long-lost villainous heir. While the audience saw a calculating predator obsessed with reclaiming his birthright, the real weight of Gordon's journey was the exhausting, lifelong performance of hiding his true identity in a Hollywood that weaponized difference. He played a man desperately seeking a father's approval while navigating a professional environment that demanded he keep his own soul in the shadows. During an era defined by the AIDS crisis and rampant industry homophobia, he was forced to maintain the facade of the cold, heteronormative scion to survive. He didn't publicly come out as gay until he was 72 years old, a heartbreaking testament to the nearly 50 years he spent in a professional closet built by the very industry that celebrated his talent. He lived through the peak of his fame as a stranger to himself, trading his personal peace for the security of a paycheck and watching his generation of peers disappear while he remained silent. Gordon's true victory was the late-life courage to finally stop acting. He traded the villain persona for the role of a liberated advocate, proving that it is never too late to reclaim your narrative from a world that tried to write it for you. He transitioned from the scripted cruelty of a soap opera heir to the lived-in truth of a man who finally found his own voice. Gordon Thomson is 81 years old. He remains a respected veteran of the stage and screen, finally living with the quiet freedom he was denied during his years in Denver, Carrington. With an estimated net worth of $5 million, his legacy is no longer the cold manipulations of Adam Carrington, but the resilient spirit of a man who proved that truth is the ultimate inheritance. John James as Jeff Colby. Born April 18, 1956. John was only 24 years old when he became the moral center and romantic anchor of the Carrington-Colby War in 1981. While the world saw the golden boy of primetime soap operas, a man of charm, wealth, and effortless charisma, the real weight of John's journey was the exhausting struggle to be seen as a serious actor in an industry that valued his jawline more than his depth. He was thrust into a global spotlight that demanded he remain the pretty boy next door, a role that often felt like a shallow reflection of the ambitious, classically minded performer he aimed to be. After nearly a decade of playing the hero and surviving the high-stakes risk of a spin-off with the Colbys, he found himself trapped in a changing Hollywood that no longer had a place for the quintessential yuppie archetype. He navigated the wilderness years of the 1990s and 2000s, watching as the industry moved toward grit and irony, leaving the sincere, polished leading man behind. He lived through the hollow experience of being a household name whose career was frozen in a specific time and place, forced to reinvent himself as a character actor and independent filmmaker, just to stay relevant in a town that thrives on the new. In his private life, John found the stability his character Jeff Colby so desperately craved. Since 1989, he has maintained a steadfast marriage to Denise Coward, choosing a life centered on family and creative independence over the superficial chaos of the Hollywood scene. He traded the pursuit of a blockbuster fame for the dignity of longevity, proving that his true worth wasn't found in the ratings of a network hit, but in the resilience required to survive the inevitable fading of the bright lights. John James is 70 years old. Joan Collins as Alexis Carrington. Born May 23, 1933. Joan was 48 years old when she famously walked into a Denver courtroom in 1981 and saved a flailing show. To the world, she was the ultimate super bitch in diamonds and shoulder pads. But the real weight of Joan's journey was the gritty survival of a woman whom Hollywood had already discarded. She arrived in Denver not as a newcomer, but as a seasoned warrior of the brutal studio system determined to make the industry pay for every moment it had labeled her a has-been. While she was on screen trading insults and winning boardroom battles, she was spending her nights in a hospital room praying for her daughter Katyana, who lay in a coma after a near-fatal accident. She wore the armor of Alexis Carrington, the impenetrable mask of a villain, to hide a heart shattered by fear. She fought a male-dominated network for the pay parity she deserved, proving that the only thing more dangerous than a woman with nothing to lose is a woman who has survived the unthinkable. In her private life, Joan eventually found the stability Alexis never could, marrying Percy Gibson in 2002 after 4 turbulent divorces. She traded the villain label for the title of Dame Commander, refusing to retreat into the quiet, graceful aging expected of her generation. She chose to stay in the spotlight on her own terms, proving that her true legacy was never about the character she played, but the unyielding will she used to keep her name in lights. Today in April 2026, Joan Collins is 92 years old. She remains the global gold standard for professional stamina, currently promoting a new memoir and maintaining an estimated net worth of $30 million. Her story is a masterclass in endurance, a woman who survived the cruelty of the golden age to become the ultimate architect of her own legend. Jack Coleman as Stephen Carrington. Born February 21, 1958. Jack was 24 years old when he stepped into the most controversial role on television in 1982. While fans saw the sensitive Carrington son struggling for his father's acceptance, the real weight of Jack's journey was the professional gamble of playing one of the first gay characters on primetime. He inherited a character in a state of flux, forced to navigate a script that often wavered between progress and the era's deep-seated prejudices, making him the face of a social revolution he had to handle with extreme precision. Jack lived through the re-straightening of Stephen Carrington, a creative retreat driven by network fear that stripped the character of his groundbreaking identity. He had to play the dissonance of a man whose soul was being rewritten by corporate censors, all while maintaining his dignity as a performer. He survived the soap opera curse by reinventing himself entirely, eventually finding an even more iconic second life as the man with horn-rimmed glasses in Heroes, proving his talent was far more versatile than the suburban walls of Denver could contain. In his private life, Jack has been a pillar of stability, married to actress Beth Toussaint since 1996. He traded the tabloid-heavy drama of the 80s for a respected career as a character actor and writer, focusing on the craft rather than the celebrity. He proved that the smartest way to survive being a Dynasty heir was to become an industry chameleon, moving seamlessly from soap hero to sci-fi icon. In 2026, Jack Coleman is 68 years old. He remains a prolific presence in modern television, recently lending his veteran voice to high-profile limited series and podcasts. With an estimated net worth of $3 million, his legacy is one of quiet, courageous evolution. A man who walked the tightrope of a controversial past to become a cornerstone of contemporary drama. Pamela Bellwood as Claudia Blaisdell. Born June 26, 1951. Pamela was 29 years old when she first brought the emotionally fragile Claudia to the screen in 1981. While the rest of the cast fought for oil and crowns, Pamela's burden was to play the victim of their ambition. She inhabited a woman constantly pushed to the brink of madness and loss, providing a raw, unglamorous contrast to the diamonds and power plays, a role that required her to stay in a state of scripted trauma, while the world around her celebrated greed. In a show that rewarded ruthlessness, Claudia was the soul the Carringtons repeatedly broke. Pamela navigated years of being the tragic pawn, culminating in one of the most brutal exits in television history, her character's death in the legendary 1986 hotel fire. The industry often struggled to see past her victim persona, leaving her with the professional weight of being a powerhouse actress who was ultimately consumed by the very drama that made her famous. Her true victory, however, was her graceful exit from the Hollywood star-maker machine. She traded the volatile fame of a soap icon for a life of genuine substance and privacy. Since 1984, she has maintained a steadfast marriage to photographer Nick Wheeler, choosing a path centered on world travel and artistic integrity over the desperate scramble for a Hollywood comeback. She proved that the smartest way to survive a dynasty was to walk away from the fire and build a life that didn't require a camera to be real. Pamela Bellwood is 74 years old. She remains a symbol of quiet, dramatic depth, living a life of sophisticated privacy far from the cameras of Denver. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, her legacy is that of the ultimate survivor. A woman who played the most tragic character of the 80s and emerged with her own peace intact. Heather Locklear as Sammy Jo. Born in 1961, Heather was only 20 when she joined Dynasty. While the world saw the ultimate golden girl, her real burden was the pressure of being the industry's lucky charm, the actress expected to save every show she touched. This invisible weight forced her to maintain a facade of perfection, while the gears of early fame began to grind her down from within. The profound tragedy of Heather's story was a decades-long public battle with addiction and mental health weaponized by the relentless gaze of the paparazzi. She faced the crushing isolation of being a world-famous icon whose internal fractures were judged as tabloid fodder rather than treated as a human crisis. Her fall was not just a personal struggle, but a reflection of a town that often abandons its idols when the porcelain begins to crack. Heather's true victory is her quiet refusal to surrender to the darkness. She traded the hollow pursuit of a comeback for the daily gritty work of sobriety and the vital bond with her daughter Ava. She proved that real strength isn't found in never falling, but in the courage to rebuild a life out of the ashes of a public collapse. Heather Locklear is 64 years old. Living a private life in Thousand Oaks with an estimated net worth of $6 million, she stands as a symbol of resilience. A woman who survived the fire to protect the peace she fought so hard to find. Pamela Sue Martin as Fallon Carrington. Born January 5, 1953. Pamela was 28 years old when she became the firebrand daughter of the Carrington Empire in 1981. To the audience, she was the ultimate modern woman, sharp-tongued, sexually liberated, and fiercely independent. But the real weight of Pamela's journey was the silent conflict between her artistic soul and the superficiality of the it-girl status the show forced upon her. She was a woman of deep intellectual ambition, trapped in a medium that valued her glamour far more than her mind. In a move that shocked the industry, she walked away from the #1 show in America in 1984 at the absolute peak of her fame. While the world saw a risky exit, the reality was a desperate fight for creative survival. She felt suffocated by the increasingly soap operatic scripts and the hollow celebrity culture. However, the victory of her choice was absolute. She traded the tabloid madness for a life of consequence, becoming a pioneer in environmental activism and a respected theater director. She proved that her worth was not a commodity to be traded for ratings, but a spirit to be protected at all costs. In her private life, Pamela found peace far from the artificial lights of Hollywood. She raised her son as a single mother and dedicated decades to protecting wildlife and the oceans through her work with Greenpeace. She mastered the art of the clean break, showing that walking away from a gilded cage is the ultimate act of power. She didn't just play a rebel on screen. She lived it by choosing a life of substance over a career of compromise. Pamela Sue Martin is 73 years old. She lives a quiet, fulfilled life in Idaho, occasionally returning to the stage and maintaining an estimated net worth of $4 million. Her legacy is that of the ultimate independent, a woman who taught us that the only dynasty worth building is the one within your own soul. William Beckley as Gerard. Born January 15, 1930. William was 51 years old when he began his long tenure as the Carrington butler in 1981. While the world watched titans of industry clash, William's burden was to be the invisible witness. He played the man who cleaned up the emotional and literal wreckage of the ultra-wealthy, carrying a poise that masked the reality of a working actor whose face was recognized by millions, yet whose name rarely made the headlines. He spent nearly a decade in one of history's biggest shows, Yet he remained a shadow in the background of other people's lives. He navigated the peak of 80s excess as the ultimate outsider looking in, embodying a class of performers who provide the foundation for icons to stand on, often at the cost of their own spotlight. His life was a masterclass in the dignity of service both as a character and as a professional who never sought the vanity of the lead role, trading the pursuit of ego for the quiet reliability of a veteran craftsman. William Beckley passed away on March 11, 2015 at the age of 85. Today, in April 2026, he is remembered as the steady heartbeat of a frantic era. With an estimated net worth of $500,000 at the time of his passing, his legacy is not found in oil empires or diamonds, but in the unwavering professionalism of a man who proved that being the invisible one is often the most vital role in the room.